Final round of the Wells Fargo Championship. James Hahn missed 8 consecutive cuts on tour before this week, and now he is a 2-time winner on the PGA Tour. Hahn wins in a playoff to take care of the Wells Fargo Championship. Golf Central is on the air.
Golf Central. Brought to you by Titleist.
What a wild Sunday around the world in the game of golf. Welcome into Golf Central. Ryan Burr with a pair of PGA Tour winners. Aaron Oberholzer, Brian Bateman. Players Week officially gets underway as of right now, but boy, we have a lot to get to from the Wells Fargo Championship in Quail Hollow. Let's get to the action. Remember Phil Mickelson on Saturday, a quadruple bogey at his last. Phil somehow erasing that from his memory and making a charge.
What would he do to have that back, Ryan? That's for sure. But here on 14, great putt from 75 feet from the hole. Green running away, it's about the only play he had, and he did it well.
Mickelson trying to get back in the action at 16. Chance for another birdie.
Unbelievable approach from the right rough here to no angle to the hole over the bunker. Taps in for birdie there. Wonderful 3.
66 for Phil, 10 better than Saturday. Rory McIlroy also in the hunt.
Yeah, here on 16. Oh, just after an ho-hum 388-yard drive. Yes, that's right. 388 yards, that to 3 feet. Beautiful birdie there on 16 by Rory.
And he is 8 under. You start to wonder, would 8 be enough? Comes to 18, maybe a birdie, get to 9. But instead,
he said he was in between clubs here, which is an unusual one. It's just a flat double cross. He's trying to hit a fade, and he pulls it across the other side of the creek. And now he really has no shot at all on a downslope, trying to bang it into the bank and hope that it kicks up, and really lucky it doesn't go back into the water.
Why are you trying to fade it to a left pin?
Said he was in between clubs, trying to take something off of it.
Still a 66 for McIlroy. 8 birdies, 2 bogeys in the final round. With Phil and Rory making a move, here comes James Hahn.
After a bogey on 6, this one, an absolute seagoer from all the way across the green. Got to judge the speed and the line perfectly, and James Hahn does. And if that doesn't go in, that's probably some 6 to 8 feet by the hole. Beautiful putt.
All of a sudden, there he is at 10 under. Remember, our 54-hole leader was Ricky Fowler. Trouble from the get-go. Here's Ricky at 7.
221 yards out. Really a tough break here. He was trying to hit a high fade into this back right hole location, and you'll hear it. Off the bank and kicks to the right off the rocks and goes out of bounds, which is a terrible break, Ryan, because he could have dropped outside the hazard line and still could have made par.
Absolutely.
Just to re-tee and make
And Fowler now 0 for 3, converting 54-hole leads on the PGA Tour. Meanwhile, Roberto Castro seeking his first win.
Well, I think this is the guy that most people sitting at home goes, oh, he's going to fold sooner or later, and he just would not go away. Beautiful shot after beautiful shot. Only hit 10 greens today, but really made them count, and his short game was wonderful.
And birdie there to get to 10 under. Now Castro at 15.
Co-leader here, just a delicate putt just outside the hole with perfect speed and line to take the lead. Great putt, showing great nerves there by Roberto.
But the Green Mile, the last 3 holes, say so many times has it decided this championship, and boy, would he like to have that back.
That was a flat misread. That was not a pole. He hit that exactly where he wanted to and just missed it.
Bogey at 16. How about a bogey at 17? What happened, Brian?
Looks like he had some choices here, and he decided to go with a putter, and that's a lot of green to navigate over the hill, and comes up well short. I bet he wishes he had that one back.
So bogey, bogey. All of a sudden, Hahn finds himself with a 1-shot lead. 2-putt to virtually lock it up.
What's the hardest thing to do in golf, Brian Bateman?
2-putt.
When you have to. Oh, boy. That's a knee knocker.
That's an oh boy. Leaves it well short. 6 feet, we'll call it. So now it has this to pretty much win the golf tournament.
Oh,
Never
my
has a
goodness.
chance. So he makes bogey at 18, posts at 9 under, back to Castro.
Right off the tee here, knowing that he's got to hit probably a career shot to the most difficult approach shot on the golf course. It hits it right in the middle of the green. If it carries another 2 or 3 steps, he's on the back tier, but it rolls back and leaves himself quite a bit of real estate left trying to get up and down for par.
And Aaron, he elects to go to the putter again.
Now, there's really no other choice here. I've been in this situation having a 2-putt for a playoff on this green, so I know the nerves he's feeling.
It's uphill.
I know how difficult that green is to 2-putt, whether it's uphill or downhill, and that's about the same length I left myself. So me and Roberto, we can sit down and have a beer later tonight because I know exactly what he's going for.
1-inch bottoms.
See how he stayed down on that putt?
That was gorgeous. He putted great all day today.
So we go to a sudden death playoff. Castro once again, first time he's ever been in a playoff. And for Hahn, he was 1-0 in a playoff.
He has missed this fairway the last 3 days to the right. This is an overcompensation because of those misses. There's no doubt, and that one, Ryan, would find the creek.
And that would be that. At least so we thought. So he's in the drink. Hahn fires one right down the middle, then comes up with this shot from the very get-go. The way he walked after it, you know he absolutely loved it.
You see the club flip there, Ryan? He did.
I saw it. I saw it.
The twirl.
But not over yet, because remember that green. It could be a little bit dicey. Very confident at this point, but Castro would give himself a chance. He was able to manage bogey, so Hahn left himself short and needed this, which he makes. And it is James Hahn who wins the Wells Fargo Championship, projected to move into the top 55 in the official World Golf Rankings. He could thank his scrambling ability for the win. 5 for 7, including 5 for 5 out of the sand. James Hahn in a playoff picks up his second career PGA Tour win. You'll remember, he won last year's Northern Trust Open in a playoff. So James Hahn getting it done. He is the subject of tonight's Titleist Tour Report as he spoke with our Todd Lewis.
Thank you. Here with the champion. James, I mean this with all due respect. You came here not having a lot of form. You've missed 8 straight cuts. So I'm going to take you to the first playoff hole where you had that short putt. What were you thinking over that putt?
I was thinking, honestly, it's Mother's Day, you know, and what better way to celebrate Mother's Day than to give her this gift of winning a championship. So, you know, it's incredible, you know, for my wife, for my mom, for all the moms out there. You know, this is very special for me.
I'm going to touch on that. This is your first victory as a father because your little girl was born last March. How special is that, Dad?
I mean, this is amazing. The fact that my wife and my daughter flew out last night, came out here, watched me play golf, and now they're here. They weren't at my first victory at Northern Trust, and you know, who would have thought that I would have won this golf tournament? But they're here. I get to celebrate with them, and it's going to be Happy Mother's Day.
I mentioned you didn't come in here with great form. You haven't broken 70 since the second round of the Waste Management Phoenix Open. What have you found here this week?
You know, I surround myself with a lot of great people. My caddy being one of them, my wife, my mom, and my dad. You know, those guys are the people that I lean on. My wife did a great job. My caddy, you know, he kept me in it. You know, going 8 straight miscuts to a victory is unusual, but you know, it's happened before, and I can't believe it happened to me.
So James Hahn, as he indicated, just came in with 0 form. Guys, I'll ask you in a little bit.
Look at that.
How he is able to overcome this. He was 30 over par with 8 missed cuts. But before we talk Hahn, let's talk the other guy in the playoff and hear from him.
Absolutely. I had to play 72 really good holes to get in the position that I was in, and you know, that's a big golf hole. And give James credit, he striped a driver and striped a 7-iron or whatever it was. So I'll take a lot of positives from playing in the final group on a great golf course. With you know, I played with Ricky today, who's a great player. So I mean, that's why I practice and why we play.
So Roberto Castro defeated in the first playoff of his PGA Tour career, and he still looks for win number 1. Let's take a look at, yeah, pretty interesting.
Giant killer. I mean, look at those names that James Hahn's taken down right there.
And I guess the interesting thing with Hahn, and there's many things I'd like to get into, but let's start with, because you guys have both been there, not saying plus 30 with 8 straight missed cuts, but you know, this game is so difficult to figure out. He would be the last guy, or certainly on a small list of the last guys you could think, and not make the cut or maybe contend a top 10, top 15, but to win? Where does it come from?
How many guys had James Hahn on their fantasy team this week?
Not many.
Not many, exactly right.
How can you turn around that much?
You know, I think that for most guys, what you have to do is you have to get back to basics. I know for me, I can speak for me personally, that when you get going in a bad direction like that, and I've missed 4 cuts in a row, and what you do is you end up going back home, you end up figuring out, okay, let's check my grip, let's check my posture, let's check my alignment, let's check my ball position. So you go back down to your very basics and the foundation and the structure in which you play golf, and then you work from there and you build on that. And obviously this week something clicked in James Hahn. And I'll tell you, from what I saw coming down the stretch, the one thing you're always going to have some adversity in the final round somewhere, some severe adversity in the final round that's going to test you. And this is what it was for James Hahn. On 13, he's coming off of a pretty bad bogey on 12. And this was the worst golf swing that he made all day on the 13th tee, coming up some 30 yards short on a par 3. And he chips it to 4 feet. Not an easy situation, not an easy chip shot to get almost stone dead. And then this is the club that really saved him all week. 193rd in strokes gained putting on the year, and he ended up the week 7th this week in strokes gained putting. So for James Hahn, he found a way to get it done today, and the putter was the main thing for him today and this week, because if you look at all of his stats, he was doing nothing well, Ryan.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden the putter shows up, and he was able to keep the ball inside the white lines out here, and that's all it took for him this week.
Well, what's interesting, with the victory, he moves to 55 in the world. And think about the doors that will open when you're in the top 55 in the world. Throughout the broadcast, Nick Faldo repeatedly saying, this golf swing is too perfect. He needs to just understand how good he can be. Miss 8 straight cuts, but do you see the talent, the ability that he's going to continue to rise, maybe if this gives him confidence?
Absolutely. And to piggyback on your point, I think it all started with James Hahn yesterday when he shot 68. On a difficult condition, he was one of the low rounds.
Brutal.
Yesterday, and he shoots 68. And you know what? When you miss 8 cuts in a row and you don't have a chance to work on your game, you don't know when you're playing or not, it's pretty much you have nothing to lose. And I think this week he did make quite a few putts, and that always helps. But his ball striking actually coming down the stretch was fairly good. He just made some clutch putts, but he really had nothing to lose today. And I think that's why as the round progressed and he started making some putts and he started hanging in there, that he started to believe he could do it. Why not? He had nothing to lose to start with.
Everybody's looking at Fowler. Everybody's looking at the run that Rory's going to make. Everybody's looking at the run that Phil Mickelson's going to make. And he's just laying in the cut, just going, okay, I'm just going to play my game much like Roberto Castro did. And look what happened. He got himself a second victory.
He absolutely does, and likely gets into the U.S. Open with this victory. You guys brought up McIlroy and Mickelson, and you brought up fantasy. You have to believe that McIlroy and Mickelson would be on everyone's list.
Absolutely.
You look at their past history on this golf course.
Especially here.
Rory, the defending champ, he's absolutely eaten this course up. Phil Mickelson, the greatest history on this golf course without ever winning. And think about this. Rory's opening 9 on Thursday, he shot a 40. Phil Mickelson on Saturday, a quadruple bogey to finish. He shot 76. Without those, I mean, shoulda, coulda, woulda. That close to Rory and Mickelson really running away with this. Let's start with Rory. Hear his thoughts after today.
I've hit a lot of shots this week that I've been really happy with, but I've also hit some shots that I haven't been happy with. Case in point, the second shot on 18 today. So there's a little bit of work to be done, and at least I know what I'm doing. That's when I hit a bad shot, at least I know what it is. So I'm working on it, and when I get it right, it's good. And but it'll take time. It's first week back, especially under the pressure of competition. You're not going to make great swings all the time. So I've got a few days in between now and the Players to work on it some more, and feel like it's been it's been a step in the right direction this week, and hopefully I'll continue to make some forward strides next week at the Players and onwards, hopefully to the U.S. Open.
I'm excited about playing and competing. My game feels like it's very close. I had a really good week. As far as ball striking on the weekends, I started to drive it much better, and my putting feels really good. I had a good putting week. So I'm looking forward to getting there next week. I'm going to have to play a little bit more defensive around the Players, because off the tee you've got to keep it in play, and around the greens you just want to get on the greens, and they're so small. So the ability to recover like I did this week, where I missed the ball a lot of times in the right spot and salvage pars, you can't really do that next week. You've got to just get it on the green.
We are in May in 2016. I'm not breaking any news there. We all know we're in May. Happy Mother's Day, by the way. But for Phil Mickelson, this is now his 4th top 10 of the year. Mickelson had 3 all of last year, so really starting to trend in the right direction. I know the Masters wasn't what anyone had hoped for, but the U.S. Open, that's the big one. That's what he's focusing on. The 76 on Saturday, but how about the putting today? 18 for 18, Brian, inside 15 feet. How do you see Mickelson when the chips are on the line in the majors and the Players the rest of the way?
Well, he's putting outstanding. He led the field in strokes gained putting this week. Ball striking may not quite be there, but his putting is unbelievable. Let's take a look at one of his putts that he made today on the 12th hole. After getting in trouble off the tee, hit a tremendous chip across the green, and these are the kind of putts that you need to make to keep the momentum going. And just like he did all week long, Phil Mickelson was converting these tough 10, 12 putts for par. And it's going to show you that he's got some work to do, especially moving into the Players next week, and like you mentioned, Ryan, the U.S. Open. But some unbelievable putting stats from Phil. Most strokes gained putting per round. This is the 4th best of his career. So if he can get some work in the next few days, he's got tremendous experience at the Players. I think he's going to be in good shape because he's putting as well as I think he's ever putted. Wouldn't you agree, Aaron?
I'd agree.
He has the classic line, Phil does, "I'm not sure how I ever won here," speaking of TPC Sawgrass and the Players, because it's not exactly...
We all say the same thing.
It's not exactly a great fit, but it will be interesting for sure as we build closer and closer to Oakmont and the U.S. Open. If he can get that driver dialed in just a bit, because we know about the rough there, there's going to be, for sure, you're going to have to hit fairways. Let's move now to McIlroy, who is now 66 under par at Quail Hollow since 2010. The defending champ once again putting on a clinic. And you think about his opening 9. He had a 40 on his first 9 holes. If not, it's probably Rory again.
For sure.
Still no wins here in 2016. Where do you see this going?
He's trending, and I'm going to show you exactly where we want to talk about Rory trending, because this is what leads Rory's game. When he is striking the ball well, Rory is playing well, and that bleeds into his putter. Much like Phil going the other direction, where the putter bleeds into his long game, it's the opposite for Rory. You look what he did. 299, 310, 320, 323. That is all drives. That's not just the driving distance holes, folks. That is all drives, which means he was using the driver, he was feeling confident, he was letting it go coming down the stretch. And then the greens today, 14 out of 18 greens, which is best. And even with that bad miss on 18 today, really the ball striking is shaping up to be nice going into the Players Championship. And I believe that Rory McIlroy is going to be, as usual, one of the prohibitive favorites next year. Next week, excuse me.
And I think for both guys, for Phil and Rory, it is safe to say that it's just right now the inability to put 4 rounds together that have kept both of these guys out of the winner's circle, especially Phil. He's put himself in position with the top 10 is just having 1 round where he wasn't quite as sharp as the other 3, or Phil wouldn't be talking about 60 starts since his last win, which was at the Open Championship. When we return, another guy that was unable to get a win with the 54 hole. What an ongoing deal this continues to be. What happened to Ricky Fowler on Sunday at Wells Fargo? We'll hear from Ricky straight ahead. And yes, John Daly making his Champions Tour debut. Big John, where he fared and how he did on Mother's Day. Straight ahead.
Golf Central is brought to you by Titleist, the #1 ball at the Wells Fargo Championship. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf. Bushnell Golf and the Tour X. Slope technology when you want it. Tournament legal when you need it.